In this tutorial, we'll be learning how to make this awesome drawing effect where you can have the user draw with, say, their hand and reveal a cool effect by painting across the screen. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is create a new render target for our drawing effect. So here in the resources panel, come in here and do new render target. And we're going to rename this to drawing. Alright, so a render target is the where we're going to be drawing our effect. So if you select a camera, each camera outputs to a render target, and then that's what we see here. So with our drawing target, this is going to be just for our drawing. And the most important parts of this effect is select your render target. You want to change this clear color to none. Now this means that the render target won't update itself. So if we see here this live camera feeds, our default render target is updating with the background, which is just what the camera sees every frame. So that's why it's always moving and we have a fresh image. With our drawing, we don't want it to be updating. Otherwise, we're going to lose the drawing. So this is a very important thing to make sure you get. With your new render target, make sure the clear color is set to none. All right, so now let's go ahead and come up to the objects panel and let's create a screen image to start to capture our drawing. So let's do our screen image. And you might notice that this camera is outputting to the render target. We want to change this to the drawing render target. So click here, choose drawing, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer so we can help keep things organized. So take it off orthographic layer, put it on layer 1, and rename this to drawing layer. If you want, you can click this little circle and you can choose a color like black or white to help keep straight that this is where we're doing our black and white drawing. All right, so once we've done that, we need to select our screen image and also put this on that drawing layer. You might notice we can't see what we're doing anymore. So come to the scene config and change your live target to the drawing. So the live target is what we see on the camera. The capture target is what actually gets saved in the snap. So for now, we want to change our live target to drawing so we can see what's going on. And if I select my screen image and I kind of move it around, you can see that it is, our drawing effect is working. It's not exactly how we want, but it's getting close. All right, so as we move the screen image around, you can see that it's persisting to the screen. So that is really good. So let's rename this to our brush. And let's actually get this connected to something in the scene. All right, so let's change our live target back to the render target really quick. And let's change this to a person with their hand up. Let's use our hand to do the drawing or painting. Here we go. So we have the hand moving back and forth. And so we're going to want to attach our brush to that hand. So in the objects panel, let's come up and we want object tracking. We don't want the 3D one. We just want object tracking. And let's find the hand tracking. And so this will attach an image there. So we can go ahead and move our brush here. Delete this one, or we could have kept that one. It's all the same. And now we can kind of adjust the size of our image and place it on the hand. And if we go back to our drawing target, you can now see that that brush is persisting. Now you might notice that we have our person in the background. We'll take care of that in just a second. But let's go ahead and get our brush set up. So we basically need some sort of image texture or material. So super easy. I'm going to come to the asset library. And I want to search for opacity. And there's this opacity textures collection. So I'm going to import that because this has some nice shapes. It has square, circle, stars, lots of cool things. So now on our brush, let's change our texture. We have a circle mask. I'm going to do this faded mask, get kind of a nice soft edge. And you can see we have that black kind of overlapping. So we could change it to something like add or screen. And now we have just that white brush going back and forth. So pretty cool. So now let's take care of removing this background. So we get that initial camera view. but we want to have a black background for our white drawing mask so that we can use it as a mask for different effects. So the best way I have to do this is I'm going to add a new screen image that fills the whole frame, make it black, have it show up initially, and then disappear once we start the lens. So not the most graceful solution, but it works. So with my camera selected, I want to add a new screen image. I want to move it up before the hand tracking, so we can delete this old frame region. I'm going to make sure it's on my drawing layer, which if that camera selected, it should be, but just double check that. And I want to change this to stretch. So you can see we kind of have something nice going on, but it's being rendered every frame, and so it's erasing our previous drawing. So let's add a behavior script. So I'll come up here to the objects, helper script behavior, and I don't want that attached to my image necessarily, so I'll just move it up here. It can be wherever, and we want once our lens starts, we want to have a brief delay, let's say 0.1 seconds. That usually gives us enough time to kind of get this first render. I want to set enabled, and I want to use my screen image here. So drag that here, and we want to disable it. And let's go ahead and rename this to background clear. All right, so let's reset the lens, and you can see we have our kind of default image there, and now we're drawing fine on top of it, and we can cover up the background. So let's do our last step. We're going to come in here, and we want to add an unlit material. You can just grab unlit, and I'm going to rename this to black because it's just going to be solid black. Change that base color. Come to our background clear image and choose our black material. All right, so we'll need to reset the lens. And it might be disabling a little too quick. Oh, I know what we need to do. Actually, come back to your image and turn off this depth test. Now when you reset, now you're good. So that was a lot of steps just to get here, but basically we have our black background, we have this white mask that we're drawing with, and now we can use this drawing as an opacity mask to combine multiple effects, and the user's hand can reveal what's going on. So just a quick recap up to here. We have our new camera with our new render target. Our render target has no clear color so that the image persists. We have this black background to kind of cover up what the camera initially sees. Now we turned off the depth test, so it shows up here. We have our hand tracker, and we have our brush, which is our circle. We've changed the blend mode to add so that it kind of accumulates on top of this background. So as the user moves their hand, you can see that they're kind of painting across the screen. So this is pretty cool, but now we want to actually use this to reveal an effect rather than just have this black and white image. So I'm going to change my scene config, the live target back to the render target. So we can't see our drawing. That's fine. So let's go ahead and select our default camera, and let's add some cool effects here. So I'll just add a color correction because that's pretty quick and easy. Let's grab Miami because that's pretty distinct and loud. And cool, that is pretty cool there. But now, to be able to combine this with the camera texture, we're going to want to put this on its own render layer as well. So let's come in here, let's create a new render target. We'll rename this to effect. Then we're going to take our camera here, let's have it output to effect. So our render target here has no effect, but we can look at this effect here, and there we go, right there. All right, so we have lots of setup, but now we're about to get to the payoff. So let's rename this to drawing camera, because now I'm going to deselect everything. Actually, let's rename this to effect camera. This isn't a very complicated scene, but it's nice to keep things kind of organized. So I'm going to click off of everything. I'm going to add a new screen image. And now I get a new orthographic camera. If I select it, I can see we're outputting to the render target. We're on the orthographic layer. We have our screen image here. And so let's come into our resources. Let's create a new unlit material. And let's just call this composition. We're going to put our effects together with the drawing. And let's rename this image to comp as well. And let's put our material on the image. Let's change it to stretch. Now this is not what we want. So select your material. We can go with a base texture. We can choose the effect. We can choose the opacity texture. Now we're going to choose that drawing render target. And let's turn the blend modes to normal. And look at that. We have our person here waving their hand. And as they wave their hand, let's reset the lens. You can see them revealing that effect by painting with their hand. So that last part, so we went over how the drawing worked. So we created our material. We used our effect as the base texture. We used our drawing output as the opacity texture. We just made sure there's normal blend mode so that it would work. And there we have it. The super cool drawing effect where the user can draw, wave their hand, and reveal something behind them. Now, you can do this by attaching the paintbrush to their head or their arm. You could use the 3D body tracker, or you could write a little script and control if they tap where that places. So you can do anything with this. All that matters now is how you control where this brush goes.